All right, so been a few days. I've been working on this and that and a few other different projects. So we changed out this module, no effect. If you put ether down the throat of the engine, it'll fire. So that tells me that ignition is happening. Let's go back here and, all right, here we are in the fuel pump relay area in the fuse box below the back seat. The neighbor is leaf blowing, so I'll try to put that out of your mind. The fuel pump relay is K27, plugs in right there at that white spot right there, okay? Here's the relay in question. 87 is here and 30 is here. 30 has 12 volts from the battery, straight from the battery through fuse number 6 right there, which is connected into a large power bus bar that goes straight to that battery. All right, so power from the battery underneath the fuse box to fuse number 6, straight into pin 30 on the relay. Pin 87 right here goes to the fuel pump. These others, 85 and 86, go to the computer. So when you crank your car, the computer will ground out pin 86, which is right here, and allow power to flow from 85 to 86, thus activating the relay and then pulling the switch closed and letting power go from pin 30 to pin 87 and onto the fuel pump. So what did we do? I made a little jumper wire, there it is right over there, and I hooked it between 30 and 87 and gave power directly to the fuel pump, and I heard it turn on. I went and then tried to crank the car. Nothing, it would not crank. So that tells me fuel is being sent forward to the engine, but it's still not starting. That was with that jumper across pins 87 and 30. Now the next thing I did was I put a voltmeter on pin 86 because 86 is pulled low by the computer. I put it on the impedance setting. Of course, I did an impedance check between 86 and ground. So when you crank the car in the cranking mode, you should see 0 ohms when you're cranking between 86 and ground on the battery. That did not occur. That circuit stayed open. Furthermore, on pin 85, I saw a rather odd voltage. I did a voltage check on pin 85. It was 4.24 volts. I don't really understand that, but we know that the engine will fire if we put ether down the breather hose. So that tells me the ignition system is working properly, but the fueling system is not. Furthermore, we don't have the proper signals coming into this relay. This tells me that the computer has an issue. Look at that. And when I finish talking, he stops leaf blowing. I think there's something cosmic about that. This one is the main computer, this guy right here. And then one of these is, I think this is the transmission control unit, and then this one does some other stuff. I think it's the braking system controller as well as some other bits and pieces that it controls. But the main computer, this is the guy that controls the fueling. This is the main computer. So I'm going to pull this out of here and take a look at the part numbers. All right, we got this module out of here. So this main computer comes out along with this thing, and they're both attached to this black piece of plastic here. There's 2 screws, one here, one here. You can't get this one out. You have to pull this whole thing out. I had never done this before. I started by taking the screw out, then I realized that was a mistake. What you have to do is disconnect the wiring harness from the main computer first. And the way these things work here is you press in right there, and then this plastic guy here pivots back, and when you pivot it back, the whole connector comes off. Not a big deal. These guys right here have a plastic clip on the side. You push it in, they pull out. These longer ones here that go onto this module, they're a little more tricky. What you have to do is you have a slider here. This part right here slides that way, and when you slide it that way, the whole thing slides up. But it's sort of a dance. You have to slide it back, pull up, slide it back, pull up to get it, because it's on there pretty tight, right? And same way for this one. This one's really kind of a bear, and you want to pull these rubber grommets up out of the way so you can get the wiring up and pull the whole unit out. All right, so up next, I'm going to take that screw out and detach the computer from this thing. And let's take a look at our part number, A026-545-6632, made in Germany by Bosch. All right, it's been a week. The computer is out for repair. I shipped the ECM off to a company called carcomputerexchange.com. So they received it on Thursday. For this particular model, it's you send it to them, they repair it, and they return it because they don't have any core stock available. A lot of time what they'll do is they'll just send you one ahead of time, and you send them your old one, and boom, you're back in business. So they told me that, if it has a problem, it may not, they'll repair it, send it back, they'll program it, that all I have to do is just slap it in there and go. So we're gonna hope that we have a problem with the ECM. That means, hey, problem solved, fired up, and on about our business. It may come back, no trouble found though, but we're gonna find out. I've since bench tested the original pump that came out of this car. I hooked it up to the battery in this car with a couple of jumper wires. Boom, wee, runs fine. So the original fuel pump was not the issue. Clearly the original crankshaft position sensor was not the issue. One of my viewers was kind enough to assist me, and we've been emailing each other back and forth, and he said that he has actually seen corroded wiring underneath the fuse box, some of the wiring harnesses coming into the fuse box. So right now, while we're waiting on the ECM to come back for repair, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't pull this up and check my wiring and make sure we don't have any dissimilar metal corrosion or any other kind of electrical corrosion down in here. So, all right, let me take these fasteners out and see what we can do to pull this up. All right, so we got the cover off. It's not a huge deal. Take the screws out. There's 4 or 5 of them, and that cover just pops right up. Okay, so one thing I did notice, if you look back in here, in the back of this thing, that looks pretty funky back there. What that is some foam. I'm assuming it's insulation or maybe water intrusion protection or something. Have no idea. But you'll notice that it has this odd coloring, this odd modeling, some yellow, some green. I'm not sure what the regular color is supposed to be. Once I removed the back cover there, was covering up several relays. I have no idea what they go to, but I'm going to poke around and see what we can see. I believe we should be able to take this fuse block and pull it upward. Here's some clips on the corners here. So I'm going to try that, and I'm going to try to pull that up next and see if I see anything out of the ordinary. Again, all I'm doing right now is looking for corrosion and stuff that's just not right. All right, so for this next little segment, our good neighbor is out and about with his lawnmower and his leaf blower and all that kind of stuff. So you'll hear that in the background. Real nice fellow, that neighbor of mine. He keeps a really nice piece of property. Okay, so here's our update. Here's our status. So I'm going to call this good. So these little fuse blocks here, these come out pretty easy actually. There's a little spring clip here and one here. Take this one out first, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to flick that little spring clip and then get a pair of needle nose and just get that one corner up and then do the same over here, and then you can pull that out of there. All right, now you have room to get your hands in there. Of course the battery's disconnected, right? Now you have room to get your fingers in there. So you unspring that one and you unspring that one, boom, it comes right out. There's a diagnostic port, I disconnected that as well. It's got 2 screws on it, real easy, comes right out. This back part, a little harder. You have this mechanism back here. It's got 2 screws in it. You want to loosen that. And it's got this spring clip on it right here. And you have these 2 little arms that fit into that, and it's sort of a pivot affair. And then on the either side, you have these 2 little nubs that stick out, and they slip down in here under either side of this front part. It's not a huge deal to get this out of here. It really isn't, but it just takes a little bit of fiddling, until you figure it out. So it took me a little while. I was told to check for corrosion, and I'm not sure if I'm in the right place to be checking for it, but I'm not seeing anything. This is a Southern car. It was bought out of Atlanta. It doesn't have any corrosion on it anywhere that I've ever found. Hey, look at that. I must have dropped a fuse down in there at some point. All right, that'll be a spare. And while we're in here, what is that? Well, that's the bolt that holds this box to the body. Sounds like my buddy's pinging me on the cell phone there. Okay, let's just, you know what, there's some kind of a relay. I don't know what that's for. Probably need to get a diagram out. And let's just take this foam out of here and that's bugging me. Golly, what is that? Oh, that's not, okay, that's just, you know what that is? That's just some foam they made out of bits and pieces. See they're just bits and pieces glued together, and they just made some foam out of it. Okay, so this down in here looks pretty good. I'm not seeing any smokage, smoke damage, fire damage, corrosion, rats. I'm not seeing any evidence of rats or mice biting into the wiring harness. Yeah, I'm gonna call this good. It's just really clean under here, so I'm gonna put this back together, put my phone back down in there, do that off camera. No sense in recording that. So I'm gonna say, boom, we're good here. I'm still all about the computer. I really think the computer is the problem. It may not be. I could be completely wrong. And here's the deal. If this computer comes back no trouble found, I'm scrapping this car. Or I'm gonna sell it, one or the other. I don't know which, but we're gonna see what happens. All right, folks, that's all for part 3 of troubleshooting our no start condition on our W210 Mercedes. Appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video, don't forget to click that little bell down below. You guys have a good one, and remember to enjoy pulling your hair out while working on your Mercedes. You guys take it easy.